How's it going, guys? And welcome to Out of Bounds, another episode. The best podcast ever created solely in a spare bedroom. If you're new to the podcast, thank you for tuning in. I don't know how you found us, but I'm glad you did. You could have been anywhere in the world, we say. But you chose to spend 30 minutes talking sports with me, and I appreciate it. If you are listening to the audio version, you can find the video version with some graphics, my face, the only negative to the video version, on YouTube. Search my name, James Skrmetta, and you'll find my channel, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want the audio version, if you're sick and tired of looking at this mug, go to iTunes, search James Skrmetta, or go to my website, jamesskrmetta.com, to find all things me. Now, full show, but you already knew that. Full show. Got a lot to talk about. We've got winners. Last weekend, the NFL was a kick right in the face. We'll talk about it. But I got winners for this weekend. I've also got Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, the San Francisco problems out there in the Bay Area. Chaos in the Bay. Big time shakeups. We'll talk about them. We got a college playoff ranking, official college football playoff rankings. We'll talk about those. And we'll break down Alabama and LSU. Biggest game of the weekend. Biggest game of the year for the SEC. We'll break that down as well. So we're going to start with winners. We're going to start with winners because I know y'all's time is precious. And y'all's precious time, you want winners. You want to say, hey, James, who do I bet on this week? Who's it going to be this week that gets me that dollar, that cheddar? Like I said, last week was not kind to us. We went 1-4 in the NFL, 2-1 in college. We haven't had a losing week in college since week 3. Pretty sporty, if I do say so myself. College NFL, 3 of the past 4 weeks have been losing weeks. Last week was 1-4, our worst week by far. Totals were still 19-10 in college and 24-17 in pros. So we're still making money on both of them. Andrew Luck is ruining my life. That's what happened last week. He backdoor covered us on Monday night. And he also backdoor covered us against New England. So he's the worst. He's a monster. He's the worst human being on earth. And I'm not a fan anymore. So we're going to forget it. We'll forget last week ever happened. I'm not worried about it. I've already forgot it. Like I said, it's already done. I'm done. I'm not thinking about it. So moving on this week, let's go college football. 3 picks for you, and I love these picks. Love the first 2 especially. First pick, Mississippi State -8 against Missouri. I don't know if you noticed the trend. We bet against Missouri a lot. We bet against Missouri unders a lot. I mean, what do you want me to say? They're awful. They're terrible. They're a terrible football team. Bet against them. So Mississippi State -8 on the road at Missouri. Next, we're staying in the SEC for all 3 picks. Kentucky, Georgia under 59.5. My favorite pick of the week. I don't want to use the term lock of the century. I don't want to say that. I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that throws that term around. But if there ever was a lock of the century, this might be it. You're talking Kentucky, Georgia. Georgia, a program completely amiss. Pure chaos. They're painting over Mark Richt's parking spot, his title, like parking for Mark Richt. There's someone out there painting over the Mark Richt part. Like, he knows he's getting fired. There's nothing he can do besides win the SEC. That's the only way he can save his job. And he's not going to be in that situation because Florida's going to be out of the East. So the only way Rick can save his job is winning the SEC. Otherwise, he's gone. He'll be coaching the Titans, or he'll be coaching USC, or he'll be coaching Miami. He will not be at Georgia. Write it down, mark it down, tell your friends I said it. With that being said, the defensive coordinator got fired, or was allegedly fired today, and allegedly punched Mark Richt. Then Mark tweeted and said, nah, he's our defensive coordinator. It's all hell breaking loose. Then on the football field of things, Georgia's safeties playing wide receiver, their quarterbacks playing safety. They got stuff going on all over the place. They're not good anyways. Kentucky's not good anyways. Under a 59.5, I would take this if it was under a 45.5. Under a 59.5, like I said, I'm not saying play of the century, but it's damn close. And then lastly, I almost took Kentucky in this game, and I almost took the Mississippi State Missouri under, but I didn't want to duplicate my games. So my last pick is Vanderbilt, Florida, under a 37. Vanderbilt is barely a football team. Florida's a good team. Florida could probably win this game. They could win it like 35-0, which could make us sweat. But I'm thinking 31-0, 28-0, something like that. Vanderbilt's not gonna be good. It's in Florida. Not looking pretty for Vandy. That's the college picks. NFL picks. Pittsburgh. The Steelers. -4.5 against Oakland. I like this for a few reasons. It's my favorite NFL pick, second favorite NFL pick of the week. Reason number one is because Oakland has to travel to Pittsburgh. When teams travel across country like that, it's not good. It does not bode well for the traveling team. Going from Oakland to Pittsburgh, that's not fun just regardless. Just like, hey, I'm vacationing from Oakland. Where are you going? I'm going to Pittsburgh. Oh, you're going to have an awful time. Now imagine if you have to play people. Like if you have to do something. It's even worse. And I think this is kind of a trap bet. Pittsburgh lost last week. Oakland won big against the Jets. People are hot to trot on Derek Carr, me especially. I said it in the preseason thing we did, but Pittsburgh's going to be better. Roethlisberger had another week. He obviously was on 100% last week. And if you take Oakland, who played Geno Smith, which is nothing, taking them across country to play a good Steelers team is better than people think because they just came off a loss. I'm taking Steelers. I'm taking the points. They win this game. Easy. Next pick, morning pick, Tennessee, New Orleans under a 48. This is another overinflated kind of deal here. Tennessee's playing with a backup quarterback. All right? I don't expect Zach Mettenberger to run up and down the field like crazy. So then you're going to have to ask, okay, well, the Saints going to put up all these points. I've watched every single Saints game. Last week was an anomaly. Yeah. Breeze isn't going to throw 7 touchdown passes every week. They're not going to be in these 90-point shootouts. So I think a lot of people are going to take the over because they're thinking, oh, Breeze is back. He's thrown 500 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's not going to happen. I think this game could be ugly. I'm talking like 28-16 kind of ugly, something like that. So, I mean, it'll be close. It could be close to the number, to 48, but I'm going under. Then my favorite NFL pick of the week, Atlanta -7 at Frisco. I don't care if Atlanta was traveling to Mars to play this game. San Francisco has Blaine Gabbert, and there are 7 points. At one point, Atlanta was like the best team in the league. San Francisco is god-awful with Kaepernick, and they're so much better with Kaepernick than with Blaine Gabbert. I can't believe... I actually... This line was on Westgate. Everyone knows we use Westgate on the show. I haven't checked I haven't checked an actual line. I'm guessing Westgate's right, but I don't know how it can only be 7 points. I mean, it should be 7 points with Kaepernick, and Gabbert has got to be a few points off Kaepernick. So Atlanta -7 is big-time play. Then Sunday night game, Philadelphia -2.5 against Dallas. Matt Castle had 97 passing yards last week. I don't think Philly's that good, but I know Dallas is not good, so that's all you got for that one. Then Monday night, I don't know, this is a tough one. San Diego against Chicago. Forte's out, Keenan Allen's out. I took San Diego -4. I don't like it. Whatever your minimum bet is, bet that. Because I would not be confident in this. I would not be confident in that game at all. Either side. I mean, you got Jay Cutler. You got the Chargers who aren't good. You've got no Keenan Allen. You've got who Rivers throws to 20 times a game. You've got no Matt Forte, who's the only person that can bail Cutler out. I'd probably stay away from it. But you know how we do it. We do a bet, our system. So I had to play it. I'm going San Diego, but not happy about it. I will not. I don't like that. So that's the winners. We don't have a MLS Minute this week because it's the playoffs. And that upsets me because I love the MLS Minute. It's my favorite part of the show. I do the rest of the show to get to the MLS Minute. But it's playoff time. There's no midweek games. There's no Wednesday games. The games are on Sundays. They're all on cable. Every single one of the games is on cable. They're on Fox Sports or ESPN, depending on the time, depending on the game. Watch the playoffs. Like, it's an awesome way to get involved for next season. And they're expanding like crazy, the MLS. They're expanding like crazy. San Antonio is working to get a team. Minnesota's working to get a team. Atlanta's getting a team. Los Angeles is getting another team. Or Miami's getting a team. So where you are, more than likely, is buy a team. Get invested before it's too late. These big-time stars are going to keep coming over. People like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Chicharito, John Terry, Carlos Vela, all these people, these huge internationals, Wayne Rooney, people like that. Cristiano Ronaldo's talked about it. People will start to come over here in America in the end of their career, or just to get a new revitalization of their career, just like Giovinco. Giovinco was shelved in the Italian side, and he comes to MLS, has arguably the best season on record, and now he's in the eye of Italian soccer. Same with Giovanni Dos Santos. Same with a lot of these players. So watch the playoffs. A few weeks left. Next season, get pumped. And we're going to cover MLS a lot on this channel. So be in the lookout for that. Let's go ahead and jump into it. It could be a short show because of no MLS Minute and trying to make this short for y'all. So let's go ahead and bust this open. Colin Kaepernick, been to the Super Bowl, been to NFC Championship games, has taken the loss of Jim Harbaugh the worst, obviously. And the 49ers suck so bad. Like, if you went to their website, they suck so bad, you more than likely would have to say you're 18 or over to go on the site. You would delete your browser history when you left the 49ers game logs because it sucks so. It's so nasty. It's not good. And there's a lot of reasons. I mean, they lost Patrick Willis, who was the most dominant defensive player in the league for a while there. They lost Alvin Smith, who, once again, was one of the most dominant players in the league. They lost Jim Harbaugh, who, for money's worth, could be the best coach in football. Any football. And they replaced him with a defensive line coach. So to say Kaepernick had a long road ahead of him is an understatement. Well, he was benched this week. Like we previously mentioned, he's being benched against the Falcons. And a lot of people are saying that his time's done in Frisco. Like they're moving on from him. And I've heard different stuff of it's the locker room thing, it's the general manager thing, it's people like that trying to push him out. It's his image, it's his play on the field, it's his attitude towards criticism. It's all that stuff. And me and my friends were talking about it this week, and I kind of took an early stance on it. I kind of took an early stance of saying, like, Kaepernick's a good player who kind of is in a raw deal. I mean, he's got a new coach, and it's not easy. He lost a lot of people. We talked, as our very first Out of Bounds was on Alden Smith, I believe. So, I mean, we talked about what the Niners were facing. And I kind of backed myself into a corner when I was talking to my friends about it because I found myself defending Kaepernick. And the more I talked about it, the more I kind of talked myself into it, which is what I'm taking into the show. And I honestly believe that Colin Kaepernick could be one of the best players in the league, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You don't just lose that. Like, you don't just lose what more than likely, if you're listening to the show, you've watched Colin Kaepernick's entire career as a pro. And you've watched his playoff games. You've watched him against Seattle. You've watched him against Green Bay. When they lost against Green Bay, he ran for like 200 yards. Him and Russell Wilson were in the same breath. They were in the same conversation of these two guys are leading that team. These two guys are going to lead the division. These two guys will be playing for Super Bowls every single year. Kaepernick was so dynamic and so good, and I don't think that you just lose that. Like, you can't tell me that just because he lost his coach, that all of his talent's gone and he just can't play football anymore. He just can't do it. It's over. He's not a quarterback anymore. Get rid of him. Go send him to wherever Tebow is. I just think it's a bunch of everything. People will address everything one by one. The image thing. I do agree that quarterbacks have to be different. They have to carry themselves almost like a coach, They have to wear suits, and they have to talk right and they have to say the right thing and they have to do. Des Bryant can't be a quarterback. You know what I mean? You can't say those things as a quarterback because you also have to lead men. You're the face of the franchise. You're the public information officer of your team, basically. If someone wants to talk about your team, they're going to talk to the quarterback. They're not going to the safety. They're not going to the linebacker. And a lot of people are rubbed the wrong way by Kaepernick's backwards hats, and he wears beats, and he wears really, I don't know what to call them, hip clothes. Like Colin Cowherd this week called him or a couple weeks ago called him he looked like a manager for a Las Vegas bar. You know, he was wearing a black V-neck shirt with a black blazer and beats and a backwards black hat. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. There is something that has to change, but you run the risk when you start saying stuff like that. You run the risk of stereotyping Kaepernick of being a thug or being that kind of a person. Kaepernick made a really high score on the Wonderlic test, prefacing this with saying the Wonderlic test doesn't mean anything. Great players. Ryan Fitzpatrick has one of the highest Wonderlic tests of all time. Matt Flynn has a really high Wonderlic test. You're not a great quarterback just because of the Wonderlic test. But Colin Kaepernick is not some street thug guy just because he's wearing backwards hats. That's what I'm saying. That kind of stuff does not make the quarterback. That's what I'm going to say about image, because I think it's a really small part of this. And I'm not going to talk about it a lot, but that's what I think about image. I think you do have to carry yourself a certain way. It's more about self-awareness. It's more about understanding you're in a leadership role like that. You know, if I in my time, in my personal life, if I wear backwards hats and, you know, my pants sag or whatever, and I go to my workplace, I understand that I can't dress like that, right? I mean, you get it. It's just part of being an adult. And, you know, Kaepernick, athletes kind of get a free pass with that because they're athletes. Their uniform is a jersey. You know, they're in a locker room. So if they wear stuff like Kaepernick wears, backwards hats, beanies, beats, whatever, you kind of get a pass. Well, when you're a quarterback of a struggling team, you might not want to do that. What I'm totally getting to, the total take, the hot take, I guess, is I think Kaepernick needs to go to Philadelphia or Houston, those two places. If he goes to those two places, he'll save those two head coaches, Chip Kelly and Bill O'Brien, and he'll also save those two teams. I don't think it's going to happen in the middle of the season. I don't understand why it wouldn't, though. Like, people say it's not Madden, right? You can't just trade players and bring in this and bring in that. If you're Houston, and your team's awful, right? Houston's abysmal. And you have Brian Hoyer. You just cut Ryan Mallett. You have Bill O'Brien, a quarterback guy. And you bring in Colin Kaepernick, a super dynamic talent who O'Brien can work with and can build around. You have this stingy defense, very similarly built to his Frisco teams. His San Francisco teams were defense heavy, and Kaepernick was allowed to. If you remember, San Francisco with Harbaugh wasn't scoring 45, 50 points a game. Their games against Carolina and their games against Seattle were 16-13 slugfests. But Kaepernick was dynamic on offense. Absolutely dynamic. Whether he's running, whether he's passing, whatever he was doing was powerful, dynamic. He was an athlete. He was never a quarterback, per se. But they let him do what he wanted, you know? They let him be the threat, if you will. And that's what Houston could be. Houston could play that nasty defense. They could build around J.J. Watt, build around Jadeveon Clowney, build around the defensive players, and let Colin Kaepernick and DeAndre Hopkins kind of just do their thing on offense. As far as Philly goes, Philly's a good team with a great coach, a very, very, very offensive-minded coach. And Colin Kaepernick could not be more of a play. He could not be more of what Chip Kelly was looking for. Super mobile. Probably the most mobile quarterback in the league. I'm not saying the best runner. I'm not saying, just as far as running ability, he's probably the number one guy. On top of the read option ability, on top of the ability to throw. I mean, he's got a good arm. It's a little wonky. You know, it could be a little inaccurate. But why Chip Kelly wouldn't jump all over this, even if it's for next year? Like, what's Chip Kelly never had? He's never had the quarterback. Nick Foles, He had a great year, but it's Nick Foles. Sam Bradford is Sam Bradford, like I told you all before the season started. If Colin Kaepernick was on the Eagles right now, if he went there today, if I signed the release form and he went to the Eagles today, I believe the Eagles would win the NFC East and they would get to at least the NFC Championship game. Because I think Colin Kaepernick is that talented of a player, and with the right coach, he could be what he was in Frisco with Jim Harbaugh. I don't think he's lost it all. I don't think any of that's happened. I think it's a joke that people are saying those things and thinking that and wanting to cut him. I think it's a joke that Blaine Gabbert's starting. The only way I'd start Blaine Gabbert is if Colin Kaepernick didn't have legs. What is Blaine Gabbert going to give you? He's a flush out. I mean, that's what I'm like. Why make the change? You think Blaine Gabbert's going to save your season? You think that? I mean, you can't, like, the Robert Griffin stuff, the Kaepernick stuff. Why have these assets? Why have Kaepernick on the team if you're not going to play him? Get rid of him. Trade him. That's what I'm going to say about that, because we did run long on the Kaepernick. Right when I say that we're going to have a short show, I get on a topic and I just let it fly. I just let it move. Thoughts start going, man. So I was going to get into the college football playoff. We'll do it real brief. Then we'll get into Alabama, LSU real brief. We'll keep it around 30. We'll keep it. Top 10 of the college football rankings came out. I'll give you the top 4. Clemson's 1, LSU's 2, Ohio State is 3, Alabama's 4. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know if they're in the right order. I don't know if Clemson really is the best team in the nation. They've been in my top 5. But I know more than these clowns. You know that. But the only problem I really have with this is 5 is Notre Dame, which is too high. You don't lose. Yes, they lost to Clemson, but they also won by 4 against Temple. They're playing with a backup quarterback. I don't know if I believe that Notre Dame is the 5th best team in the country. I mean, I don't know if I believe that they should be that close to the playoffs. 6 is Baylor. Baylor shouldn't be in the top 10. 7 is Michigan State. I don't know how Michigan State's that low. That's my problem. Michigan State should be 5. TCU should be 6. Baylor should be 7. That's what I think. So, we'll talk about Michigan State real quick. Undefeated. Won at Oregon, which now doesn't look like that big of a win. But, you can't discredit it for what it was at the time. They go to Michigan and win, which at that time, Michigan was playing as the best team in the nation. They were playing the best football in the nation. And Michigan State went to their house, the big house, and beat them. Was it a fluke play? Did they deserve to win? Yes, it was a fluke play. They probably didn't deserve to win. But they did win. That's what matters. It's a result-driven, that's the results is on this show, baby. The 4 I don't have a problem with is obviously going to change after this weekend. Not just in case you're wondering. 9 is Iowa, 10 is Florida. So it's Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, Bama, Notre Dame, Baylor, Michigan State, TCU, Iowa, and Florida. Which takes us to LSU, Bama. Bama is at home. They're giving 7 points. 6.5 somewhere, 6 somewhere. I've seen anywhere from 6 to 7. That means LSU is favored to lose. They're predicted to lose by more than 7. I tell you what, it's going to be a punch-you-in-the-mouth 1996 kind of game. Like, you're going to blast to the past, brother. It's going to be a blast to the past. Jay Leno and David Letterman are going to be on late night. Like, it's going to be, your iPhone's not going to work anymore. It's just going to be flashed all the way back. This is going to be a hard-nosed SEC punch-you-in-the-face game. Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette, Nick Saban, Les Miles. Les is going to do something crazy. He's got to. This is a must-win. It's interesting because it's a season-saving game for Bama. Bama wins this game. They immediately get interjected into the best in the nation conversation with good reason. And if they lose, they're out, right? If they lose, they're done. They're not going to get in the playoffs. They're not going to get in the SEC championship game. They're done if they lose. So season saving for Bama. Have to win. LSU could afford the loss. If LSU lost this game but won out with 1 loss, they'd be okay. They'd be fine. They'd be right back here in the top 5. We'd be okay. If they win, they almost stamp their ticket to the playoffs. And in the SEC, you don't want to say that. LSU still has to play Ole Miss, still has to play this game, still has to play the SEC championship game if they were to go undefeated. But pretty much, if they beat Bama, they pretty much say we're in the SEC title game, we're going to the playoffs. So both teams' season is on the line, the way I see it, is on the line. And it's saying, here we are. We both have the same thing. We both have a really powerful defense and a really good running back. Shake hands and go at it for four quarter. Man, they're not. I promise you this: Jacob Coker is not going to go out there and throw it 55 times a game. It's not going to be anything you don't know. Like that's what I've learned with the SEC. What you say it's going to be is what it's going to be. We say it every week. Missouri can't score; they're not going to score. LSU has a great running back; they're going to run it down your throat. Bama plays defense and possession football. That's exactly what they're going to do. Bottom line, these games have been known to be tight. Past couple of years, they've been the best rivalry in football. We've seen all field goal games, 9-6 games. These teams have played for national championships in the past 6-7 years. I mean, these two teams have been football for the past decade. And Les Miles and Nick Saban are often compared to each other, often in the same breath. And Nick has gotten the better of Les as far as like legacy or whatever. I'm a big Les Miles fan. I like him. I think he has to get crazy this game. He's got to pull some stuff out of his hat. And I don't know how many times he can do that without getting burned. But in Tuscaloosa against a team that's going to bring it to you with Nick Saban game planning for you, it's going to be tough. We'll see how good Leonard Fournette is this weekend. He's starting to string together some of these 150-yard games. If Seth Russell was still playing, I would say that's not good enough to win the Heisman. Trevone Boykin is the only person that could probably catch Leonard Fournette. If Fournette strings together a couple of 100-yard games, if Bama beats him up and he has a 100-yard game, and then he has one against Ole Miss or something, then I could see Trevone Boykin catching him. But this game is a lot on the line. It's not going to be fun to watch. I can promise you that. It's not going to be exciting. If your girlfriend's watching with you, I probably wouldn't do that. She's not going to like it. Unless she likes games to the tune of 17-13. Because it's going to be a lot of defense, a lot of SEC, and it's going to be a chess match. And the Heisman, the SEC West, a playoff seed, all could be decided this game. It's going to be huge, and I guess it's my responsibility to do a prediction. If y'all have stuck around the show this long enough, and you're this deep into the show, and you're almost finishing it, then I owe it to you to do a prediction. I think it's tough, but I think Bama can stop Leonard Fournette. I think it's going to be a close game. If gun to my head, I'd probably go with Saban. At home, Alabama, Derrick Henry, they can stop the run. They're known to stop the run. That's what they can do. LSU is better in the secondary, so it's going to be hard for Coker to beat them like that. I would expect a low-scoring, smash-mouth game. I have Bama winning. Like I said, I'll say something like, 20 to 17, 20 to 14. I'll do that. 20 to 14, Alabama. So that's the game. That's a prediction. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. Y'all are the reason I do this. These views, the likes, the interaction, all that stuff's the reason I do it. Really appreciate you listening. I really appreciate you are watching or whatever, however you're doing it. If you've made it this far, go ahead and rate, review, comment, do all that fun stuff. Let me know what's keeping you around so far, and make sure to tell your friends that, hey, you don't have to listen to the local sports radio show anymore because I found somebody doing it better than those chumps at your local radio station. Guys, this has been another episode of Out of Bounds. I, of course, am your host, James Skrmetta. Have a fantastic weekend. Good luck gambling. Good luck at the games. Have fun watching them all. Have a great weekend, guys.